You choose to marry someone or to be with someone without any involvement of science. You don't do a scientific compatibility test that, based on scientific simulation, this person is going to be a perfect wife for me or perfect husband for me. You don't do that. So, somebody say, well, I only believe in science. That is absolutely false. They think they only believe in science, but that's not true. I'll show you. Look, science is not the only way to discover truth. You and I, them, non-believers, people already believe in facts and they adhere to it, even though it has no scientific backing. So, example of that would be, for example, if someone like that asks you for a meal, do you think you have a moral obligation to help that child? Ask that question to that person. If he says yes, that's not scientific. If he says no, that's not scientific either. Okay? Now, even this thing, the concept of logic, right? So this is logically fine. But then how do you prove that this logic is correct? Right? So you can have this recursive argument that how do you prove that this rational deduction is fine? That's not a scientific thing either. There's tons of things. Okay? The taste, you may desire a certain cake. How do you prove that scientifically? You choose to marry someone or to be with someone without any involvement of science. You don't do a scientific compatibility test that, based on scientific simulation, this person is going to be a perfect wife for me or perfect husband for me. You don't do that. Moreover, you don't, you know that who your mother is, right? Nobody has there's a lady that you serve, you love, you stay with, you take care of her, and you believe she's your mother, and there's no scientific backing for that. You haven't done any scientific tests for that. So you can use these examples to say, look, I appreciate what you're saying, but that's not true. You know things to be true that has no scientific basis. So there's more ways of knowing the truth that are beyond science. And if you were to limit yourself to only science, your functionality would be very limited. Also, now we can go into these details in advanced courses. Any scientific theory is based on these three things. Number one, it is based on probability, that this is the most likely, explanation. It's based on assumptions. There's a lot of things that you need to assume to build a theory on top of it. And then, finally, there are disputes. Even within the scientific community, if there's a theory, there may be opposing views. Okay, so quickly, example so evolution, the theory of evolution or Darwinian evolution does not prove that human beings came from monkey. That's a possible theory, they can say it, right? It's like, for example, if you have a full novel, right? And I give you, randomly I give you 100 pages from this 1,000-page book, right? You can write the rest of the pieces however you like. And then somebody else can write it in however way they like, right? That doesn't mean that there's only one absolute truth. And which is fine. This is how scientific progress happens. People have theories, dependency, you build on that and you keep going. But the point is that it does not contradict Islam. So you can keep going into that as long as you want. But the very important point is that science does not have, the philosophy of science does not use any external thing as a cause. So the discussion of God created or not created is not a scientific discussion because that's outside. You cannot have that. So you have this limited vision. You cannot see beyond that, right? So if I were to only see in this space, I'm going to be only talking about this space. Anything outside of this room, I cannot talk about. So that's why science is not going to be touching God.